This year I cultivated an incredible amount of hot peppers, experimenting with different growing conditions in the greenhouse, in raised beds, and in grow bags. It was such a bumper year, and with such a bounty, I planned a fun lacto-fermentation project to create some distinctive and flavorful hot sauces. Lactic acid fermentation is a biological process where sugars are converted into cellular energy and the metabolic byproduct of lactic acid. This type of fermentation is carried out by certain bacteria and yeasts that thrive in low pH conditions. Lactic acid fermentation is used to preserve dairy products, vegetables, and fermented beverages such as yogurt, sauerkraut, kimchi, and kefir. It enhances the texture and flavor of foods while also inhibiting the growth of harmful bacteria. The process not only extends the shelf life of food, but also enhances their nutritional value by increasing vitamin and enzyme levels, improving digestibility, and promoting the growth of beneficial gut bacteria. Donning gloves, I began by chopping Scotch bonnets, known for their sweet, fruity flavor and intense heat, ranging from 100,000 to 350,000 Scoville units. They are a staple in Caribbean cuisine. Captivated by their aroma, hints of apple, cherry, and tomato, I added a head of minced garlic, a knob of grated ginger, and the zest and juice of a lemon to complement these notes. I placed a clean quart jar on the scale, tared it, and added the ingredients and water, calculating 2 to 3% of total weight, and added that amount of fine-grade sea salt. This salt concentration creates an ideal environment for beneficial microbes while inhibiting unwanted bacteria. I also use a glass fermentation weight to keep everything submerged in an airlock, which allows gases to escape while preventing oxygen exposure, which can increase the risk of mold growth. You could also just use a lid and burp it or keep it loosely on top. I usually let my wild ferments like sauerkraut and pickles sit for 5 to 10 days, tasting them periodically to achieve the perfect tangy flavor and crunch. But with hot sauces, I prefer to extend the fermentation to weeks or even months, checking regularly until the aroma suits my taste. Next, I prepared a batch with red habaneros. They have similar heat to the Scotch bonnets. Native to the Amazon region in Brazil, they are intensely spicy and have a fruity floral flavor. To these, I added a diced sweet orange bell pepper, a head of minced garlic, and the zest and juice of a lime into the jar along with water and the required amount of salt and the glass fermentation weight. Now for red jalapenos. A staple in Mexican cooking, jalapenos are popular for their manageable level of heat and grassy flavor notes. And these were very mild this year, so I combined them with a handful of cayenne peppers to intensify the heat a bit. I really enjoy the classic flavors of these two peppers, so I simply added a head of garlic at this stage. I'll have a chance later to play with the flavors during the next phase. Finally, I moved on to the red serrano peppers, which have 10,000 to 23,000 Scoville units. Similar to jalapenos in flavor, but smaller and hotter, they're also common in Mexican cuisine. To these, I simply added a head of garlic. After placing the jars on a tray to catch any potential overflow, a common occurrence in fermentation, I allowed them to ferment for about 4 weeks, monitoring them closely. It's normal for the liquid to become cloudy, but it's important to watch for any signs of mold, which will require disposal of the batch. In what I call the midterm phase, I pureed the contents of each jar with an immersion blender, then tasted them. As long as there is no mold or off-putting flavors, we can move on. For now, I'm checking and adjusting the flavors before letting them ferment even longer. Now, this step is not necessary. The sauces could easily be bottled and enjoyed at this point if the pH was below 4.6. To the vibrant and fruity Scotch bonnets, I added a bit of honey, ginger paste, and some of my lemon and ginger infused vinegar. The red habaneros were fiery, a little too much for my liking. I added some of my maple syrup with the hopes of mellowing it out. The jalapenos and cayenne smelled wonderful. This is not super hot and the flavor is good, but I decided to add a bit of my Cincinnati-style chili spice blend. This includes seasoning salt, garlic powder, cumin, paprika, allspice, clove, ginger, turmeric, and, surprisingly, cinnamon. If you're not an Ohio native, you have likely never tasted this flavor combination, but it's a favorite of mine. Lastly, the serrano sauce was nearly perfect. It just needed a splash of my spicy tomato vinegar for extra punch of flavor. I let these ferment for another 4 weeks or so before tasting and straining the solids. I used a fine mesh strainer to remove the pulp and seeds, each of which I first put into mason jars. Naturally, I wasn't going to let anything go to waste, and I had plans for each one. I checked the pH of each final sauce. All were well below 4.6, indicating sufficient acidity for preservation. I filled a small 5-ounce bottle for sharing and a larger flip-top bottles for myself. They are fine on the counter for a while, but should be stored in the fridge long term, where they can last for months or even longer. Fermentation will continue in the fridge, but it slows significantly. The sauces could also be jarred and water bath canned at this point, but I wanted to keep them raw to benefit from the gut-healthy probiotics. With the leftover solids, I created a variety of new products. I dehydrated the jalapeno and cayenne pulp for later use. I also dehydrated the serrano solids to infuse into olive oil. I warmed them gently over low heat for a few hours, then let them steep overnight. The chili oil will be perfect for adding to my next batch of chorizo or any other Mexican cuisine. I used the Scotch bonnets to make a spicy pineapple and mango chutney, super hot but delicious. The habanero solids are still waiting in the fridge for inspiration. Suggestions are welcome. Let me know if you have any ideas. And now for the best part, the taste test. I grilled up some chicken wings because what could be better? The Scotch bonnet sauce was blazing but fruity at the same time. The red habanero sauce was hotter than I had planned, and I'll use it sparingly. The serrano definitely had heat but was delicious, a very classic hot sauce flavor. The milder jalapeno and cayenne sauce was so good, and it was my favorite. Excellent on wings and sublime on scrambled eggs. I just may have to go into the hot sauce business, folks. This project was such a success. I'm thrilled with the results and eager to hear what you think. If you're inspired to try making your own hot sauces, share your thoughts or ask questions in the comments below. And don't forget to like and share this video if you enjoyed it.